Namaste. I trust you well. In this video, I'm going to talk about the importance to integrate all the emotions in the human emotional scale so we can learn to vibrate with emotional balance as high as possible. For those that don't know me, I am Kolbrun Karla. I have always been very sensitive with energies, and I'm an energy healer and a writer, and I was writing something today that I would love to read for you. Okay, so what I hope to achieve with this video is to put the awareness to how easily we can help each other when we are going through emotional unbalance just by recognizing each other's feelings instead of ignoring them. So the energy of ignorance has been controlling a little bit. And behind ignorance are other lower vibrational energies like jealousy and arrogance. And we don't like to vibrate in those places, right? Every emotion has its own frequency, but they are all vibrating in different levels. But within each level, there are groups of emotions that have similar frequency. So for example, if you don't want to be arrogant, you cannot show ignorance if you want to higher your frequency. Even though the emotions in the same group might be different, they are vibrating in the same level, so we need to integrate all of them to vibrate higher. So what I mean about to integrate them to higher frequency, it's to be free from them, more or less, not to let them control us. We need to ground the self-knowledge in all the emotional scale and love all those emotions equally, so we can have full control and understanding of which emotions we want to vibrate in. This doesn't happen with ignorance, denial or judgmentality. We cannot deny, judge or ignore self or others if we are visiting these lower vibrational emotions, like we all do. We are all human. Those that have been able to keep their emotional balance in high vibration have been able to face and recognize the human emotional scale in and out fearlessly. Those humans have earned their self-confidence and strength because they know that nothing can take their energy of high frequency, even though they need to face difficulties or help others that are emotional unbalanced. Nothing is like uncomfortable for them to talk about, and they don't get easily triggered because they know their core of vibration. The human emotional scale is like a balance scale. And to learn to keep the emotional balance, we have to know where the balance lies. So we need to face every angle of the emotional scale. The space of keeping the balance is very big. We have a lot of space because balance is a movement. It is flowing constantly. And if the flow stops, we might even lose the balance. So how do we learn to keep the balance in the level we want to vibrate in? We learn it when we are about to fall or lose it. So let me explain. It's like when we are learning to stand on our hands. We need to fall over a few times. And when we are about to fall over, then we know exactly where the balance lies. So this is a space of movement. And like I said, it's a big space with many different emotions that are in the same like floor or same level where we want to vibrate in. So for example, behind gratitude, there are many other emotions vibrating at the same frequency. So to keep the frequency and the vibration in the same level or higher, we need to fall over, or better, to be about to fall over sometimes to lower vibrational emotions when we are learning to keep the balance in the level we want to vibrate in. It might be a little bit confusing. I can hardly read this what I was writing. Okay, so let's see. We can also say that the emotional scale is like the human energy field, like a core that is flowing outwards and inwards. Where was I? From the heart space to all direction, from the heart outwards and inwards again. Normally in the root chakra and the crown chakra, they go in and then out from the heart space. So if you want to be in touch with this core of the vibration we want to be recognized with and balance in, we need to be able to flow through the emotional scale to recognize where we want to be, through all the scale here. And so the core is the heart that is always vibrating high, like the sun. And just like the sun needs shadows to shine, we need to revisit all the scale to shine in love, joy, and gratitude. Okay, so for example, if someone has been vibrating in the energy of shame, that is one of the lowest frequency that we can vibrate in, and that emotion is like a curse created in childhood normally by someone putting their own shame on somebody, like a child, and the person that was this child feels stuck and not being able to vibrate in happiness. The reason for this is because they have these false beliefs about themselves, and it is so or just too hurtful to dive deep into this. But if and when they manage to integrate the energy of the emotion of shame by recognizing that something shameful is never a child to blame, they will not be controlled by the energy of shame, and they can start to vibrate higher and keep the balance there. So when they revisit this emotion of shame once in a while, because we are all human, we go up and down the scale, we can use it like a trampoline emotion and jump up the scale very quickly again. So when we want to vibrate somewhere high in the emotional scale, we need to recognize and be very open for those, for all the emotions we don't want to vibrate in, because they help us to keep the balance higher, higher levels. And that is why I call them trampoline emotions. So when we fall down the scale, we can jump up immediately again. But it's very important not to ignore them, because these lower vibrational emotions are really tools to help us to recognize where we don't want to be. So if you cannot handle to visit lower vibrational emotions, like for example fear, guilt, or disappointment, it should tell you that you haven't integrated those emotions, and you are afraid to be stuck if you need to face them, or you might choose to ignore them. And that is really not how you can feel your strength and growth. So when you have integrated the emotion of fear, for example, you start to love it, because fear can actually help you to appreciate what you love and have. So let's talk about the emotion of anger. To be able to vibrate high, we need to integrate the emotion of anger. So that cannot control us in any way. We want to be free from it. So anger is an emotion created in the mind. So this is very important. It's like the most of the emotions under anger in the emotional scale. They are emotions created in the mind. And they are often like illusional emotions created by mind games, by narcissists, false beliefs, or any physical or emotional abusive situations. So when we get to integrate anger or similar emotion, we can vibrate higher with an open flow directly from our heart space with the connection of the unconditional universal love, and really connect with the pure core of ourself without interruption from mind games or false belief, for example. Let me very quickly explain with another example. Where was it? Yeah. A human that is going up the emotional scale, for example, to vibrate more from the heart space in loving emotion. So this human goes from the shame by recognizing the shame was never a child to blame and not theirs to carry, and from there up to disappointment, that is vibrating a little bit higher, and from there up to anger. And by recognizing and integrating that the anger is just an illusion to keep them still low, even though the anger had helped them to pull up from the shame, and that makes them possible to go higher and higher up the scale. So we need to integrate its emotion. And it doesn't mean we will never go there again, because we are constantly up and down the scale throughout our lives, but we will be quicker to go up again. Anger can be a tool to get very quickly some strength to take us away from oversensitivity from the very lowest vibrations. So use it wisely and only for higher goods, like against violence or something like that, and then let it go, because anger is still a very low vibration. I'm just taking this for an example because we are all humans and we all get angry or disappointed once in a while, and we cannot judge, deny or ignore those emotions. Even though we have a spiritual awakenings and we are empathic, we cannot ignore those emotions. But if we have really integrated the emotion of anger and how it works and why we can have this emotion, it can never control us. And it's enough for us to know this exists, like every other emotion in the scale. So to be able to vibrate in balance in the emotional scale, in thankfulness, love and happiness, we need to recognize the other lower feelings and flow through them with thankfulness. If you think you can be vibrating in pure love and happiness and at the same time be in denial about your feelings or someone else's feelings, you might be playing mind games with yourself. And the energy of mind games is lower than anger. Again, what I mean to integrate is to dwell in all these emotions that you feel are keeping you low, that might be full of attachments, of false beliefs about yourself and others. Normally we can feel this in our physical body, within our chakra system. If something is not true, we can feel the blockings within our bodies, like false beliefs that are normally created within the first 7 years of our lives. So very deep self-exploring is needed. So meditation is the key. When we realize that most of our beliefs are not even ours, they are just something we were told before the age of 7, these attachments start to fly off our shoulders. The burden was never ours to carry, and we start to vibrate higher and lighter. A little more about this. If you feel like you still have to dig deep and you might get stuck in low vibrations, when someone is emotionally unbalanced around you and you can't be bothered by it, and you might want to walk away from some kind of drama, you need to realize that the energy of drama is within the beholder, and in that case, that is you. Just like the energy of shame can only be put on others to carry by mind games, don't put the energy of drama on another by saying they are dramatic, just because you are afraid to lose your balance. If we become triggered by others that are going through low emotions and we cannot be there for them, and we only want to see the light, beauty and positive things because we are having some kind of spiritual openings or something like that, and we need to avoid other humans while and when they are feeling low or emotional unbalance, are we really vibrating in love? Just asking. So the stronger we become and the higher we vibrate in balance in the emotional scale, the easier it becomes for us to help each other. We cannot be in denial about other people's emotions by not recognizing their feelings with ignorance, and at the same time be thinking that we are vibrating high, because ignorance has the same vibration as apathy, and apathy is the opposite of empathy. If we want to be optimistic and positive light beings, we need to acknowledge and integrate where we want to be at, and all the emotions lower than that. In that way, everything comes up on the surface. All that is true and false. For example, if we need to think over and over again about something that is bothering and we feel stuck, we don't get closer with somebody, or we don't understand something, it is normally from lower vibration, created by false belief system or mind games. And when it is false, our soul is telling us to let it go, let it be. As my soul is pure as yours, only the truth can flow naturally. All the emotions that have the highest frequency, we all recognize. They flow naturally because they are soul connected, and we are a unity of human consciousness, of wisdom. And this wisdom is the core of all creation, and that is love. When we all have learned to love and appreciate all the emotional scale equally, without being afraid to be emotional unbalanced, we can start to vibrate higher and higher and higher. So be generous, have courage, and be kind. Namaste.